I'm live. Sorry guys, I was a little bit distracted. Don't worry, I don't want to make any holidays in North Korea. Much more, I want to talk about some cool spots I visited in South Korea last year. And without much further ado, let's get started. The first tip I have for you is at the place where you will most likely start your South Korea journey, in Seoul. So the first thing I recommend you to do is to hike up to the Namsan Tower, which is located on a hill very close to the urban centers of Seoul. And it's quite easy to find, to be honest. And it allows you to explore a little bit of the areas around like urban Seoul. And then when you go up the hill, you have a very stunning view over Seoul and the vastness of the city. But be careful, it comes at a price. So you have to manage and you have to conquer a lot of stairs until you reach the top. On the top, you have a little platform there where you can explore a little bit more of the area and you can see different angles of Seoul. What I highly recommend you to do afterwards is to walk down at the other side of the hill. It brings you to a very beautiful little park with some recreational areas, little rivers, little ponds, and you can walk down very easily. So it's not a hard hike, but from there you can reach the urban center again pretty easily, and from there you take the metro to wherever your hotel is. So this is tip number one. So tip number two is Gwangjang Market. Gwangjang Market is a local market which is actually pretty huge in the center of Seoul, and it's very easily reachable by public transport, so it's quite famous. And what I would recommend you to do is to book one of these guided tours. That's what we did. So we met with the guide and she managed us through these masses of people. And she also, or the guide also then can explain like what is what, because I assume not many of you speak actually Korean, so that they actually know what they will taste there. So there is so much food to taste, there is so much things to buy, and there is so much authentic Korean food. So I highly recommend to check it out. And again, take one of these guided tours because it also allows you to meet other foreigners, to exchange about their experiences in South Korea. And if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, you will taste, or you will get to taste some dumpling soup from a TV celebrity in the market. But I don't want to take the surprise from you, so go check it out. This is tip number two. All right, let's get to tip number three, which is one for the nature lovers among you. So it's Bukchon National Park. Bukchon National Park is located a little outside of the urban center of Seoul. It's about 45 minutes by metro or train. And I think we took a bus too. But it's actually pretty easy. So it's very prominently described and you can always ask. Everyone knows Bukchon National Park. And if you arrive at the park, you have several options to hike up the hill. And be careful, some ways are much longer than the others, and so we followed the main hiking trail, so I recommend you to do that as well. It's challenging enough, and I say this as a Swiss mountain goat, which is used to hike.
Das ist der höchste Punkt von Südkorea, am Festland. Als wir das gemacht haben, die Wanderung war einfach nur übel. Fast gestorben.
But Bukchon was hard, it was challenging, and I highly recommend to have good shoes, be in good conditions, because especially the last part, when you go up to the mountain top, is very challenging. You have to use a rope to climb up, you have lots of stairs, even more than for Namsan Tower. So be prepared, but the nature around Bukchon is wonderful. I loved it. We were during summertime, so it's pretty hot as well, but everything is blooming, it's green, birds are making sounds. So it's really a wonderful hike. It's challenging, but it's a wonderful hike. And if you're up there, you will be rewarded with a stunning view over all the areas around Seoul, which are quite mountainy, a little bit hilly. So highly recommendable, check it out. And yeah, send a photo from the top. Because Seoul is so vast and so big, there are also so many things to see. So I decided to give you some more little tips, maybe some little secrets, which you might enjoy when you visit Seoul. And the first one is, I hope I pronounce it correctly. So if there are any Koreans watching, please correct me if my pronunciation is completely off. But it's Gyeonggi-cheon, which is a little artificial river through Seoul. There is a certain area to it. And in the evenings, there are like musicians playing. We saw some reading fairs where they exchange books and stuff. Couples are sitting at the river, especially in the evening when there are lights up. And when we were there during summer, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful atmosphere. And it gave Seoul a very cool touch. So you can have a drink in a bar nearby and then have to walk home to your hotel along the riverside, and highly recommendable. So check it out if you're there. The next little, or I should rather say tall tip, is Lotte Tower. Lotte Tower is the tallest building in Seoul. It's about 472 meters tall, and you can go there. It's also like everything else, actually, is pretty easy to find and pretty easy to get there as well. You might even see it from, depending on where your hotel is, you might even see it already. And you get there and you buy a ticket to get up to the platform, and it's about 20 bucks, I guess. And the elevator has like a speed information, so how fast it gets to 472 meters. And on the deck you can have a drink. Like there's a little bar and a little coffee shop, and then you can walk around, you can take photos. You have a very we were lucky, our sky was very clear, so we saw way behind Seoul from 472 meters. So it's highly recommended to get there to just have a look at where you actually are within Seoul. So our next stop in our travels was Jeju Island, which is the biggest island from South Korea mainland. And we took a plane from Seoul to get to Jeju and rented an Airbnb there. So what I recommend you, and I really cannot emphasize this enough, is if you're able to rent a car in Jeju, do it. Rent a car, because you're much more flexible. The thing with Jeju is that Jeju is a wonderful island, but if you are outside of Jeju city, the infrastructure and bus connections and public transport becomes weaker and weaker. And we had the problem that we were not able to rent a car, and we had to take taxis from Jeju city to our Airbnb because it was a little bit remote, because we wanted that. We wanted to experience nature, the nature of Jeju. But yeah, with a car, with your own car, it's much, much easier. And just a little, maybe funny, a little bit dangerous side note is when we took the taxis from Jeju city to our Airbnb, we had the issue that a lot of these taxi drivers, they work very long hours, the poor guys, and they were tired. So they almost fell asleep during driving because the streets are very long and just straight. Just be careful. That's everything I want to say. If you have to taxis back and forth, it was like a 40 minutes drive every time. And just to emphasize my recommendation, really try to rent a car, and then you can drive around the island. We took an organized bus tour because we had no car, and these bus tours are very cool. So we paid about like 70 bucks a day, and then we were driving around like the one half of the island, and then on the other tour we drove around the other half of the island. And there are so many things to see. So we were seeing like the Black Beach, which is like somewhat like blackish sand, and very cool. And you go to the coast, you hike up to a lighthouse which is on the south coast, if I'm not completely wrong. There are certain hotspots which are like very easy to find information about. Everybody is like, okay, there are always the same spots. There are, for example, what I highly recommend is to go to one of these coastlines where they have, yeah, I don't know if you call them ama, but these fishing ladies where they dive in the sea and then get, yeah, like fishes or like little slugs or something, like just they live from the sea and they have the traditional dance. Yeah, just it's a little bit of history, a little bit of tradition. It's highly touristy, to be completely honest. But yeah, with the tour, it was okay. And yeah, other than that, there are a lot of nature like ways, so you can walk through forests, you can see some of the volcanic activity in Jeju. You see some mountains where you can hike up if you want to. Everything in Jeju is like very easily reachable, and it's also pretty easy to get there if you have your own car. The island is big, but it's not that big. So yeah, regarding Jeju, yeah, you see my footage. So these are the places we visited, and yeah, just check it out yourself. If you're into nature, if you're into walking, if you're into hiking, if you're into seeing stone formations, if you're into seeing like coastlines, you're at the right place at Jeju. So this brings us to the last stop of our travels, which is Busan. And for Busan, I have you the first tip to visit, which is, of course, how can it be otherwise, Haeundae Beach. Haeundae Beach is famous for the skyline, which is in the back of the beach, and with all these skyscrapers and the big advertisement screens which light up the night. So I highly recommend you to have a walk along the beach during nighttime. And if you want to swim during the day, so we tried, so the water was freezingly cold. So if you want to swim, be aware to stay within the perimeters they guard. Because we saw a guy, like he was snorkeling outside of these perimeters and he was forced to leave the water because they could not protect it. Like, so even though the water is quite shallow for a long time, so it's freezingly cold, but it's not that deep. So be careful if you swim there, stay within the perimeters. That brings us to tip number 2 for Busan, which is I think also the last tip for this video, is the shore walk. So Busan has, because of the shape of the beach, they have a beach and then you have a shoreline which goes further along to a different city or a different little village. So they have cable cars which follow the way, and then you have like a view on the sea all the time. So what I highly recommend you to do is to walk the shore walk, actually, because there are some very cute little cafes along the shore walk within, like, between trees and stuff like that. So it's a very calming atmosphere, and the little village which you arrive after like 1.5 hours of walking is famous for its surf spots. And so it has a very cool vibe, especially during summer, where it's also quite hot. So you really have this feeling of people getting to surf there, although the water is freezingly cold there as well. So I highly recommend you to walk the shore walk. It also gives you an opportunity to see a little bit of South Korea village life or small town life. So check it out. If you are too tired for walking back to Busan, you can take the cable cars and actually drive back, so to rest your tired legs and enjoy the view. Of course, it's about $5 or something, so it's really cheap. And yeah, that's it. So these are my tips for your visit in these places in South Korea. And yeah, let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if these tips helped you. Maybe you already knew some of them. And it would really help me if you can give me feedback to the video, if you can at least give me a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. It also helps to improve the quality of these videos. And see you next time.